Schwinn IC4 vs Sunny 1805. The Schwinn IC4 costs 50% more than the $600 Sunny 1805. And you do get a little bit more stuff when you buy the Schwinn IC4, but is it actually worth 50% more than the Sunny 1805? Today, we're gonna find out. Both of these bikes are pretty popular indoor cycling bikes that a lot of people use as a peloton alternative. And while these two bikes do share a lot of similarities, they also have a lot of differences. For starters, each of these bikes is magnetic resistance, and they both apply that magnetic resistance in the same way where they kind of pinch the flywheel from the side. As you can see here, the Sunny 1805 does the exact same thing. However, in terms of the drivetrain, there are some significant differences, and we will get into those in just a moment, but for now, let me tell you, the Sunny 1805 has a 44-pound flywheel, whereas the Schwinn IC4 has a 40-pound flywheel. Additionally, we can see the Sunny 1805 has a thick flywheel, and in comparison, the Schwinn IC4 has a very thin disc-shaped flywheel. And while I'm not exactly sure if the thickness of the flywheel matters, I can tell you the mass of the flywheel does matter, and the way that the magnets pinch around the flywheel, that does make a difference. Each of these two bikes do have their own unique drivetrain feel, and one of them does have a higher maximum resistance, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But before we do that, let's take at one of the major differentiating factors between these two bikes, and that is the screen and the electronics. The Schwinn IC4 plugs into the wall, and you get this little mini screen up here that gives you things such as cadence, time, calories, speed, distance traveled, your resistance level, and your heart rate monitor pulse. And speaking of heart rate monitor, the Schwinn IC4 comes with a heart rate monitor included, as well as weights and a weight holder and water bottle holders, which kind of do cause a problem, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The Sunny 1805 does not come with any electronics at all, but it does have a little tablet holder up here, and you don't plug this bike into the wall either. All you have to do on the Schwinn IC4 is hop on and start pedaling, and you can get your cadence output here in terms of RPMs from 0 to 125. And in addition to that, you have a resistance level right here on the screen that goes from 0 to 100, which does not equate to the Peloton scale, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And just to show you what it looks like, I threw the heart rate monitor on here, and it shows my heart rate right up here on the screen. One thing I really like about the Schwinn IC4 resistance system is it only takes 4 rotations to get from minimum to maximum resistance. As comparison, the Sunny 1805 takes about 7 to 8 turns to get from minimum to maximum. But unfortunately, there are no electronics on the Sunny 1805, so you're not going to get your resistance number in terms of a digital metric on a screen on this bike. So on the Schwinn IC4, you do get that metric up here on the screen. However, I'm not really sure how beneficial it really is to you if you're going to use it for the Peloton digital app classes, because honestly, the numbers do not match up to the Peloton Bike Plus or any of the Peloton bikes. Really where the Schwinn IC4 shines is when you throw your tablet up here, you can connect it up to the Peloton digital app. And when you connect your tablet up to the Peloton digital app, you can get your metrics such as your cadence and your heart rate right on the screen. But not only is the Schwinn IC4 compatible with the Peloton digital app, it's also compatible with a lot of other apps. So if you want a bike that has a computer on it that's compatible with the Peloton digital app or any of those other apps that are listed that this bike's compatible with, the Schwinn IC4 is great for that. However, I have a question for you. Do you care about all of that integration right out of the box and getting your heart rate monitor and the weights and all that stuff directly with the bike? Because even though the Sunny 1805 doesn't come with that computer and all that stuff built into it, you can attach your own stuff and get the same metrics. Down here on the crank arm, I attached the Wahoo cadence sensor, which only costs 40 bucks on Amazon. Here's what the box looks like. And all you gotta do is start pedaling, and it gives you your cadence right here on the Wahoo app that you can download for free. As you can see here, as I pedal along, it shows my heart rate right up here on this screen with my own heart rate monitor, and my cadence is displayed right on the screen. And unlike the mini screen on the Schwinn IC4 that caps out at an RPM of 125, this screen does not have a maximum RPMs that you can ride. So these bikes are a little bit different in that regard. You know, the Schwinn IC4, you get all that computer and metrics and stuff, and it all integrates up with the Peloton digital app and other platforms as well right out of the box very seamlessly. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy any accessories. You get that heart rate monitor, you get the weights and everything right there included on the Schwinn IC4. So I want to take a moment and talk about one of the major problems with the Schwinn IC4, and that is the crank arm on the left side on this bike. Sometimes it can be the right side, I hear, but the pedal seems to come loose. Listen to this. there's a little bit of a wobble to it, and I actually had to tighten mine back up today. So it seems like sometimes this pedal will come loose on the Schwinn IC4, and if you don't stay on top of it, it seems like sometimes it will kind of tend to strip out the threading on the crank arm. So if you have this bike, or if you're thinking about getting it, you should be aware of that, and remember to keep this pedal tightened up. And while we're down here talking about the pedals, I would like to point out both these bikes come with the exact same pedal, but the Schwinn IC4 comes with the SPD clip-in on one side already for you straight from the factory. And the other side of this pedal is a cage style pedal, so it's for a more casual rider. You don't need any sort of special shoes to ride this bike. If you take a closer look at the part number there, it says JD304. You can see this little SPD clip-in is attached on to the pedal, and on the back side there is that little screw right there that goes in. Over here on the Sunny 1805, you can see the exact same part number is on this pedal, JD304. However, there is no SPD clip-in that comes on this pedal. Now in theory, you could just buy the little SPD clip-in here and add it straight onto the pedal. As you can see, it has the same hole right there for you to connect it in, and there are the little holes there in the back, and there is also the cage style on the other side of the 1805 pedal for the more casual rider. So yes, you can use the cages, or you could buy the little clip-in part there. The only problem about buying this SPD clip-in is I can't seem to find it anywhere except for on eBay shipping from China for like 25 bucks. So I don't think it's really worth it for that price. So if you can find this little SPD clip-in piece somewhere at a local bike shop or something, or somewhere online, please let me know, because I would like to know where to buy this piece, and I would like other people to know where to get it as well. Of course, you can just completely change out the pedals to put on your own pedals if you'd like. One thing that is different about the Sunny 1805 pedal is they give you some Loctite on the threading of the pedal, and so far my pedal has not come loose on the 1805. Now, I have had the IC4 bike longer than the Sunny 1805, but there is Loctite on there, and these pedals are pretty difficult to put on, and they haven't come loose on me yet. So I'm not sure if it's the crank arm or the pedal or the lack of Loctite or what the deal is, but it's just something to keep in mind. You know, if you are gonna buy one of these bikes, keep an eye on the pedal over here on the Schwinn IC4, because that is one minor issue with this bike. So now let's take a closer look at the adjustability and the comfort of the Sunny 1805 and the Schwinn IC4. For starters, both of these bikes are four-way adjustable, meaning you can move these handlebars forwards and backwards on the Sunny 1805. And even though it is a little bit more difficult to get to that knob down here on the Schwinn IC4, you can also move these handlebars forwards and backwards. You can also move the handlebars up and down on the Schwinn IC4. And as you can see here, they adjust about 4 inches up and down. And within that 4 inches of range, there is no hole you need to click into on these, so you do get micro adjustability. The Sunny 1805 has the same ability from 1 to maximum with no hole to click into. However, the major difference is you get 6 inches of adjustability on the Sunny 1805. And right now, both of the handlebars are on maximum height, so you can see kind of what they look like here. On maximum height, you can see that the handlebars come up just slightly higher than the Schwinn IC4. I'll tell you more about the handlebars in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the adjustability of the seat. So the Sunny 1805 has no holes that you need to click into for raising and lowering the seat. Additionally, the maximum height for the Sunny 1805 saddle is higher than the IC4. I'm 6'5" and I have this saddle on 22. However, the Sunny 1805 goes up to a saddle height of 25 or max. So if you're really tall, the Sunny 1805 might be a better fit for you. On the Schwinn IC4, not only does the saddle height not go as high, there are also holes that you need to click into that are spaced about 15 millimeters apart. I do have the saddle height of the Schwinn IC4 set on its maximum saddle height, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. On the Schwinn IC4, you can move the saddle back and forth using this knob right here, and there are no holes you need to click into. Over here on the Sunny 1805, you get that exact same option. And speaking of saddles, here's what the saddle looks like on the Schwinn IC4. It's relatively firm and flat. There's a little hole cut out here in the middle, and I find it to be a pretty comfortable saddle, although everybody has their own preference and taste in saddle. On the Sunny 1805, if you have not had a chance to see it yet, this seat is a little bit more substantial. It's wider and has a little bit more cushioning. There is that cutout in the middle, but overall it's a more beefy seat and has a little bit more cushioning to it, and Also, the big thing is it's wider. It does have a little bit of softness to it, but you know, it's also a relatively firm seat, and for a wider saddle, I find it to be pretty comfortable. Although for me, I personally prefer a narrow saddle, but you know, don't listen to me about saddle because everybody is gonna have their own personal preference. So let's take a look at the handlebars now. Here's what the Schwinn IC4 handlebars look like. And as you can see, they kind of meet in the middle here and they kind of droop down to the sides. You get a hand grip position right here. My hand just kind of barely squeezes in there. At 6'5", you know, I do have big hands, but you know, there is space to put my hand there, and then you get this position here, and then out here for riding out of the saddle in position 3, or if you're leaned forward in an aggressive position, you get this out here. Also, you get these additional grips right here, kind of the triangular shape, and as you can see, they kind of angle up here and then angle up even more on the outside. Also, you get this kind of flat surface out here on the end, which is a little bit unique to the Schwinn IC4 handlebars. Moving straight on over here to the Sunny 1805, first thing you might notice is these handlebars are really long. They're super long compared to any of the other bikes I have here, and kind of unique in that regard. Taking a look at the handlebars from this perspective, you get that same place to kind of put your hand on there, just enough room for me to put my big hand on there, and these ones are flat across. So you know, actually I kind of prefer the flat handlebars in the front, but you know, it's a personal preference thing. There is no one right or wrong handlebar setup. Additionally, these handlebars come out straight, whereas if you look closely, the Schwinn IC4 handlebars actually kind of arc in a little bit towards the end. But really the big differentiating factor between these two handlebars is how long the Sunny 1805 handlebars are. You also do get this grip position here, and for out of the saddle, or I kind of find that you can kind of use these to kind of lean your body here and grab out here. So kind of like a triathlete kind of setup, you know, if you want. You can just kind of like lean your whole body along these handlebars, which I suppose you could kind of possibly do over on the Schwinn IC4, but it's really just not the same. Real quick on the tablet holder, I would like to point out that the Sunny 1805 does have a tablet holder, and it lays more flat than the Schwinn IC4, but there's no lip on it to secure your iPad or tablet into that, which, you know, it does kind of have advantages and disadvantages for that reason. Because that lip is not on there, theoretically it is a little bit less secure, so you could maybe bump it off more easily, but also because that lip's not there, you know, you could put a thicker tablet on there, or a tablet that's got a thick case on it. On the other hand, over here on the Schwinn IC4, you can see that that tablet holder is much more upright, but it does have that little lip on there to secure in your device. So with that lip on there, it does kind of give you a little bit more security that you're not going to hit the top of your tablet and kind of knock it off the stand, but it does also give you some limitation on how thick of a tablet you can put up here. So before I get on these bikes and compare them back to back, head to head, I would like to point out one other minor but also significant difference between these two bikes, and that is the water bottle holders. So the Sunny 1805 has a single water bottle holder, and it's over here on the right side of the bike. And I really like what Sunny did here, because you can just throw in your water bottle holder right here on the side, and you know, it's easy to grab. I should also point out that there are no weight holders in the stock form on the Sunny 1805, but there are ways you can get weights on this bike. Over on the IC4, not only do you get weight holders that come on the IC4, you also get weights that come with the bike, and you do get dual water bottle holders up here on the IC4, but these water bottle holders do kind of tend to cause a little bit of an issue. So yeah, you can throw a water bottle in there and another water bottle over there. And of course, it's nice having water bottle holders up here, but the problem that a lot of people have is when you get up here out of the saddle, your knees will kind of hit those water bottles. Now, of course, one workaround is you could just simply not use the water bottles, or you could just kind of set them up like this, which is what I kind of tend to do when I'm on this bike. But even still, I kind of tend to have a little bit of problem with these water bottles if I want to get out of the saddle and start doing some of those motions where you kind of move your body forward and backwards in the saddle. Now, yes, I can ride the bike, you know, with my booty back and not hit my knees on those water bottles. But if I do lean forward, ooh, yeah, see? It'll just, my knee will kind of just drive right in there. And I do have these handlebars on the max height. Now, yes, I am 6'5", so I'm a little bit taller than a normal person, but I'm not the only person that has this issue. So now what I'm gonna do is just kind of hop on both these bikes back to back and tell you what the drivetrains feel like and what I think the minimum and maximum resistance is like and how that compares head to head, and also maybe how those compare to the Peloton Bike Plus, and really just kind of share my thoughts and experience between these two bikes and help you make up your mind which is the better bike for you. So the first thing I want to do is measure the seat height on both these bikes. So from the floor to the top of the seat is 45 inches on the Sunny. And over on the Schwinn IC4, that same measurement is 43 inches. So the maximum saddle height on the Sunny 1805 is like 2 inches higher than the Schwinn IC4. In addition, the handlebars are 42.5 inches. And in comparison, on the Schwinn IC4, the handlebars are 42 inches where you put your hand on the handlebars. And here's what the saddle height looks like on max height for the Sunny bike for me. This is too high for me at 6'5". There's not enough bend in my knee on this bike, so I need to drop the seat down just a little bit. So now the saddle's on 22 out of 25, and this is like where I feel comfortable on the bike and where I like to ride. So since both these bikes come with cages, I'm gonna ride them with cages on each one. However, there is that SPD clip-in that comes out of the box on the Schwinn IC4. But the very first thing I really want to address in this comparison is how does the resistance feel on minimum for these bikes? So let's do that now. So this flywheel is 44 pounds compared to a flywheel of 40 pounds on the Schwinn IC4. And let's see how that compares getting it started. So the minimum resistance on this bike is like basically no resistance. Like you can feel the 44 pound mass, you gotta get it up to speed, but once you get it rotating over, it carries that momentum pretty nicely. I really like the drivetrain feel on this 1805. And to show you what the minimum resistance on the Sunny 1805 is, I'm just gonna give the pedals a push and show you. So it's not like resisting itself on minimum resistance. It'll just keep on going, and the resistance is very, very minimal on minimum. So yeah, they're still going, and they come to a slow, gradual stop. So now I'm going to jump onto the IC4. Okay, so on the IC4, I have the saddle height on the maximum height, and you know, it works for me. This is like where I would want it to be, but if I was taller than 6'5", I would need the saddle height to come up a little bit higher. So this bike does fit tall people. At my height of 6'5", it works. So in the cages here, pedaling along at 0 resistance, feels smooth. It feels like a nice feeling bike. The Schwinn IC4 is a legit bike. Both of these bikes are extremely quiet machines. The magnetic resistance on them is like really, really quiet and really smooth on both bikes. In terms of riding at minimum resistance, I think that the minimum resistance on the Sunny 1805 is a little bit less than the minimum resistance on the Schwinn IC4. And to show you what I mean, I'll push on the pedals here and I'll show you like how long it takes for them to kind of stop on their own. In terms of the minimum resistance, I think it's sufficient on either one of these bikes, although I do think the minimum resistance on the Schwinn IC4 is slightly higher than the minimum resistance on the Sunny 1805. Also, I can tell a difference in the flywheel differences. These are both very smooth feeling magnetic resistance bikes, but you can tell that the Sunny 1805 does have more momentum to it when you get the flywheel going. So there is good inertia in this flywheel, but there is more inertia in that bike. Also, I want to show you what I was talking about with the water bottle holders and all this stuff up here on front of the Schwinn IC4. So I'm in the saddle now, and you know, I'm fine. I can clear this water bottle, and this is a big water bottle, but my knee is not touching it. But if I get out of the saddle, right away, boom. And then also, not only that, like my knees can actually hit this part. So if I lean forward, which, you know, if you're riding, you should, you know, have your booty back. But sometimes the instructor will call for you to lean forward and back and forward. So you just really can't do that on the Schwinn, for me at my height, because my knees will hit. And in addition to that, even if that wasn't there, my knee could also hit the handlebar on max height. So let's go back over there. All right, back over here on the Sunny, moving along, cranking up the resistance just a little bit here. Right away, I can tell the inertia from the flywheel over here on this bike is slightly more. So really what that equates to is like when you're riding out of the saddle or at a high cadence and you're really moving, it really just helps you keep that cadence going. Keeps the inertia, keeps the mass going, keeps the momentum of the flywheel going, and really just kind of equates to a better feeling riding experience. And that's not to say that the Schwinn IC4 is a bad riding experience. This is a great bike, but I do feel like I can feel the mass of that flywheel really translates into a nice feeling riding experience on the Sunny 1805. So one downside to the Sunny 1805 is this resistance knob is magnetic resistance, but it's a physical magnetic resistance, and there really is no way for you to get that output up here on a screen in terms of resistance numbers. So you kind of just need to rely on turning this thing. It has about 7 or 8 turns, I think 8 turns. And you have to just remember your resistance number, and you don't get that in terms of a metric. Now I have seen people hack this a little bit where they create like a little mechanical system on the edge. I can put a link to that below this video if you want to learn how to do that. But it's really not necessary. So I'm on resistance 0 now. I'm going to crank it up to like 4 turns. And you can really feel the resistance starting to come on like quickly. These long handlebars, you can kind of get down in that triathlete kind of style. Grab on like this and just stretch out on this bike if you want. Or you can kind of get back out like this. One thing I would like to point out about this bike is there is no stuff in the way of your knees here. So, like I was saying, sometimes the instructors will call for you to, move back like this, move up like this, move back like this, up here. And since there is nothing in the way here, and these handlebars come up a little bit higher, and my height is 6'5", I find this to be a little bit better for me. It's just less cluttered, there's less stuff in the way, but you don't get those electronics in the way holders. But, in terms of knee clearance, the 1805 is definitely better. Also, because of less stuff being in the way down here, it makes it easier to adjust your handlebars here and here very easily. Whereas on the Schwinn IC4, there is all kind of stuff that kind of makes it a little more difficult for you to move the handlebars. But honestly, you're not going to be moving them that much anyway. Just something I've kind of noticed as somebody who reviews a lot of bikes. So on the Sunny 1805, I am comfortable on this bike. I like this bike, it feels nice to ride. The medium resistance levels, they feel nice, it has a nice feeling drivetrain. So now let's hop back over to the Schwinn IC4 and see how that feels. Alright, so on resistance level 0, let's crank it on up. So moving along here, I'm on 32. This feels like a nice medium resistance. Drivetrain feels nice and smooth. Like I said, both these bikes are thumbs up, they feel great. Nice feeling magnetic resistance. But let's check out that maximum resistance because that is important too. So cranking it up on 100 resistance now. Here we are on the Schwinn IC4 and let's look at some numbers. On resistance 100, my RPMs up here showing out of the saddle. I can crank them RPMs up to about 75. 75 RPMs on the max resistance. Now this is serious effort. This is a lot of work, but I can do it. 75 RPMs. Let's see what I can do on max resistance over here on the Sunny 1805. 75, maybe 80. Whew, it's burning. Let's go straight back on over here. Let's crank up the resistance to maximum. Let me hook up my metrics. All right, guys, got the Wahoo cadence sensor hooked up. That is kind of one downside. You don't get those metrics like right out of the box over here on the Sunny bike, but now that I have it hooked up, let's see what kind of cadence I can pull on max resistance. All right, so scooting along here. 56, 57, 58, oh, 62, 64. Oh man, so yeah, I can tell right away the max resistance on this bike is more than the Schwinn IC4. That was taking a lot of work to get up to those numbers. So let me try again here. Cadence, 55, 60, 62, 63. So not quite as high. Let me go back there. Okay, straight back over here, I can tell right away max resistance is significantly lower on the Schwinn IC4 versus the Sunny 1805. So yeah, I can get that up to like 80 RPMs. It's a lot of work, it's heavy. Man, pulse 160. Let me show you that. Whew. Yeah, so yeah, 160 heart rate versus 162 heart rate. So basically, you know, the skosh here versus the heart rate that comes on the Schwinn IC4, they're both giving me the same readout, 163-ish, yeah. So come on, heart rate. Whew. So like you can see here, both these bikes can give you a great workout. Max resistance on the Sunny 1805 equals probably about 85 to 90 on the Peloton Bike Plus. Schwinn IC4, definitely less. I have a full review on the Schwinn IC4. I'll put a link to it, a little card up here or down in the description box if you want to watch my full review, my official review with Tal Happy Score on the Schwinn IC4. So let me give you my summary, my final thoughts on the Sunny 1805 versus the Schwinn IC4. Obviously, Schwinn IC4, very popular option, quality bike. It does cost 50% more than the Sunny 1805. You do get those weights that come with it, and you do get the heart rate monitor, and you get the little mini screen that comes with the bike that gives you your cadence, your pulse, and your resistance in terms of a number, 0 to 100, even though that number doesn't equate to the same scale as a Peloton Bike Plus. I do know that sometimes they have special pricing on either one of these bikes, so you can check the link below this video and see what the current prices are and if there's any specials. And if you do buy through that link below this video in the description box, that does help support this channel and I would greatly appreciate it. I'm not trying to convince you to buy either one of these bikes. I'm just saying if you find the bike at the price you want and you want to buy it and you want to support this channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you did buy it through that link below. So if you're gonna do the Peloton classes, the Schwinn IC4 does hook up to the tablet, gives you your cadence and heart rate right up on the screen of the Peloton digital app, and it does sync up with a lot of other apps. So if you're looking for a machine that hooks up, has a nice computer system to sync in with the app you're using, the Schwinn IC4 is the better bike. If you don't care about that stuff and you just want a great quality bike with a great drivetrain, a very high maximum resistance, a heavy flywheel, and a saddle that comes up really high, handlebars that you can stretch yourself out into like a triathlon position, and that four-way adjustability, which both these bikes do have. The Sunny 1805 is a really great option, and in comparison, I think that the Sunny 1805 is the better feeling bike. It has the better feeling drivetrain, the higher maximum resistance, and I just like the ride feel of the Sunny better. That being said, the Sunny 1805 does not come with those clip-in pedals. You don't get a computer, so you're gonna have to like hook up your own electronics and stuff if you wanna do that. I just have the Wahoo app up here with my heart rate and the cadence sensor down there for the cadence, which I do have links to that Wahoo cadence sensor down below this video in the description box, and the heart rate monitor if you're interested in that. Honestly though, both these bikes are good options. It really just is gonna come down to personal preference. Do you want those weights, those weight holders, the dual water bottle holders, and the computer? The biggest difference is probably the computer and the way the Schwinn IC4 connects up to the Peloton digital app and other apps. If you don't care about that and you just want to do Apple Fitness Plus or something that doesn't even give you cadence in their classes, or doesn't give you a number for resistance, the Sunny 1805 is a great option. But you can just hook up your own electronics to that, throw either of these in front of a TV, watch whatever classes you want on a television, play music through your own speakers, whatever you want to do. So yes, both these bikes are really good options, but just remember, these are not your only two options. I do have a lot of other bike reviews on my channel, so check those out if you're interested. So thanks for watching, guys. If you're not already subscribed, click that subscribe button and click the notification bell if you want to get notified for my new videos coming out, and I'll see you in my next video. If this video has been helpful to you, give me a thumbs up, and any questions or comments I did not answer in this video, please leave down below the video in the comment section.